5 years. That's how long I loved Clara Bennett. I met her at a housewarming party, back when my architecture firm was just me, a laptop, and too much debt. She laughed at my jokes even when they weren't funny. She stayed up late listening to my plans for the firm like they actually mattered to her. I thought I'd found the person I'd spend my life with. Yesterday, I bought the ring. I went to her apartment to grab a stapler for a client presentation. Something small, something stupid. She was in the shower, so I opened her desk drawer to look for one. Instead, I found a folded paper tucked under a stack of old bills. A marriage certificate. Her name, and a man's name I'd never heard before. Marcus Hale. I stood there holding it, waiting for my brain to make sense of the letters. Didn't. I read it 4 times. 5. The date was 2 years ago. I heard the shower shut off. I didn't move. I didn't hide the paper. I just stood there when she walked in, wrapped in a towel, smiling until she saw my face. Daniel? What's wrong? I held it up. Who is Marcus Hale? Her smile disappeared like it had never existed. Daniel, answer me. My voice came out flat, calm. I didn't recognize it. Are you married? She sat down on the edge of the bed, pulling her towel tighter, like that would protect her from what was coming. I can explain. Then explain. It's complicated. It's a yes or no question, Clara. Silence stretched between us, long enough that I already knew the answer before she said it. Yes, she whispered. I'm married. I laughed. It wasn't a real laugh. It was the kind that comes out when your body doesn't know what else to do. 5 years, Clara. 5 years I've been planning a life with you. I bought a ring last week. Her eyes went wide. You. Doesn't matter now. I set the certificate down on the dresser like it was something contagious. How long? 2 years. 2 years. I repeated it slowly, letting the number sink its teeth into me. So half of what we had was a lie. It's not what you think. Then tell me what it is. I stepped closer. Tell me why you let me plan a future with you while you had a husband. She looked down at her hands. Marcus and I. It's a business arrangement. His family has money, connections. My mother pushed me into it before I even met you. I was going to tell you eventually. Eventually. I nodded slowly, feeling something cold settle in my chest. When? After the wedding? After kids? Daniel, please. Do you love him? She hesitated. That hesitation told me more than any answer could have. It's complicated. You keep saying that. I grabbed my jacket off the chair. My hands were shaking, but my voice stayed steady, which somehow scared me more. You know what's not complicated? Honesty. That's not complicated at all, Clara. You just chose not to give it to me. I never meant to hurt you, but you did. I stopped at the door and looked back at her. Really looked, maybe for the last time. I wasn't supposed to find out, was I? That's the only thing you're sorry about. Not that you lied. That you got caught. She didn't deny it. She just sat there, silent. And that silence was louder than any excuse she could have made. Goodbye, Clara. I walked out before she could say anything else. The hallway blurred. The elevator felt like it took forever. By the time I hit the street, rain had started falling, cold and hard, soaking through my jacket in seconds. I didn't run for cover. I just stood there, letting it hit me because for the first time in 5 years, I finally understood something clearly. I never really knew her at all. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on my kitchen floor with my back against the cabinets, staring at nothing, replaying 5 years like a movie I suddenly hated. By morning, I called Ethan. He showed up at my apartment 30 minutes later, still in his gym clothes, hair a mess. You sounded like hell on the phone. What happened? Clara's married. He stopped mid-step. What? She's married. Has been for 2 years. To some guy named Marcus Hale. Ethan sat down across from me slowly, like he was afraid sudden movement might break something. Daniel. 2 years, Ethan. I was planning to propose. He rubbed his face with both hands. I didn't know that. I swear I didn't know that. But, I caught the hesitation in his voice. There's a but in there. He sighed. But I always felt something was off about her. The way she'd disappear for business trips with no details. The way she'd get cagey whenever you brought up meeting her family. Why didn't you say anything? Because I didn't have proof, man. Just a bad feeling. And you loved her. What was I supposed to do? Tell you, hey, I think your girlfriend's shady with nothing to back it up. I stood up and started pacing. You could have told me the feeling. I would have listened. Would you have? He looked at me hard. Because every time I hinted at anything, you defended her. You weren't ready to hear it. He wasn't wrong, and that made it worse. Who's Marcus Hale? I asked. Do you know him? Ethan hesitated again, longer this time. Ethan. I looked him up while you were in the shower crying on the phone to me. He's an investor. Runs a private equity firm downtown. Word is he's been quietly funding a woman's lifestyle for the past couple years. Apartment, trips, the works. I didn't put it together until just now. My stomach dropped. Her apartment. Her business trips. Yeah. So while I was working 60-hour weeks trying to build something for us, he was paying her rent. Looks that way. I sat back down, the anger draining out of me and leaving something hollower behind. I ignored so much, Ethan. The secrecy, the excuses. I told myself I was being a good partner by trusting her. I was just being blind. You loved her. That's not blindness. That's just being human. Feels the same right now. We sat in silence for a while. Then my phone buzzed. A message from a client asking why I'd missed our 9 o'clock call. I stared at it and didn't respond. You missed a meeting? Ethan asked. I forgot. You never forget meetings. Well, apparently today I do. I set the phone face down on the table. I can't think straight. Every time I try to focus, I see that certificate. Her name next to his. Take the day. I'll cover for you at the office. I can't just. Daniel. Ethan's voice was firm. You built that firm from nothing. One day off won't collapse it. But if you walk in there right now and try to run client calls with your head like this, you'll make mistakes you can't take back. I wanted to argue, but I didn't have the energy. Fine, I said. One day. Good. He stood up. And for what it's worth, I should have said something sooner. About the bad feeling. I'm sorry. It's not your fault, Ethan. Doesn't mean I don't feel like it is. After he left, I sat alone in the quiet apartment, staring at my phone full of unanswered messages and missed calls. My work, the one thing I'd never let slip in 5 years, was already falling apart, and it had only been one day. I thought about Marcus Hale's name and wondered what kind of man funds another man's girlfriend for 2 years and feels nothing about it. Then I thought about Clara, and how easily she must have lied to both of us. 5 years, and I didn't know her at all. 3 days after I found the certificate, my mother called. Daniel, you haven't answered your phone in days. Are you alive? I'm alive, Mom. You don't sound alive. Come for dinner tonight. Your grandmother's been asking about you. I almost said no, but the thought of sitting alone in my apartment for another night, staring at the wall, was worse than facing my family. Fine, I'll come. When I walked into my parents' house, the smell of my mother's cooking hit me before anything else. Grandmother Rosa was already at the table, and the second she saw my face, she set down her fork. You look like a man who buried something, she said. Grandma, I'm not wrong, am I? My mother came in from the kitchen. Rosa, let him sit down first. I sat. I didn't say anything about Clara. Not yet. I wasn't ready to say it out loud again. My father cleared his throat. Actually, Daniel, there's something we wanted to talk to you about. What kind of something? My mother and father exchanged a look. Do you remember the Lynns? George Lynn, my old business partner. Vaguely. His daughter, Sophia. We made a promise years ago. If both of you were still single by a certain age, we'd introduce you. It was mostly a joke back then, but George brought it up again last month and, well, my mother hesitated. We told him yes. I blinked. You told him yes to what, exactly? A meeting. Between you and Sophia. I almost laughed. You're telling me you arranged a marriage meeting for me without asking me first? We didn't arrange a marriage, my father said. Just a meeting. What happens after is up to you. I'm with Clara. The words came out before I remembered they weren't true anymore. The table went quiet. My mother's face softened. Daniel, what happened? I stared at my plate. She's married. Has been for 2 years. To someone else. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. My father set down his glass slowly. Grandmother Rosa didn't look surprised at all. Just sad. Like she'd expected something like this eventually. I'm so sorry, my mother whispered. So you understand? I said. Why a meeting with some stranger my parents picked out isn't exactly what I need right now. I understand you're hurting, my father said. But maybe. No, I shook my head. I just got out of 5 years of lies. I'm not walking into another relationship because it's convenient for 2 old business partners. Grandmother Rosa set her hands flat on the table. Nobody said anything about a relationship. A meeting is a meeting. You sit, you talk, you leave if you want to. Grandma, I don't want to meet anyone right now. I didn't ask if you wanted to. Her voice was sharp, but not unkind. I asked you to trust that your family isn't trying to hurt you. I know that. I pressed my palms against my eyes. I don't have anything left to give anyone right now. Then don't give anything, she said. Just show up. Sometimes healing doesn't start with wanting to. Sometimes it starts with doing the thing anyway, and letting the wanting catch up later. I looked at her. She'd said things like that my whole life. Simple sentences that somehow carried more weight than they should have. Rosa's right, my mother said gently. Nobody's asking you to fall in love tomorrow. Just meet her. For us. For yourself, even. I sat there a long moment, anger and exhaustion fighting for space in my chest. Part of me wanted to refuse just to prove I still had control over something in my life. But another part of me, a tired, hollowed-out part, didn't have the strength to fight anymore. Fine, I said finally. 1 meeting. That's it. Grandmother Rosa reached over and patted my hand. That's all I'm asking. Don't expect anything from it, though, I warned. I'm not exactly in a place to fall for anyone. Nobody's expecting a fairy tale, Daniel. She smiled faintly. Just show up as yourself. That's usually enough. I nodded, though I didn't believe her. Not yet. But I agreed to the meeting anyway, not for Sophia Lynn, not for some old family promise. For my grandmother. And maybe, quietly, for whatever was left of me. The restaurant my mother picked was too fancy for how I felt inside. I got there first, sat at the corner table, and checked my watch 3 times before Sophia Lynn walked in. She didn't smile. She didn't scan the room looking nervous or hopeful. She just walked straight to the table, sat down, and looked at me like she was assessing a business proposal. You're Daniel, she said. Not a question. That's me. You're Sophia. Unfortunately, I raised an eyebrow. Excuse me? I mean that as a general statement about this whole arrangement, not you personally. She picked up the menu without looking at it. My father's been planning this since I was 22. I'm 28 now. He finally called in the favor. So you don't want to be here either? Not particularly. She set the menu down. No offense. None taken. I was engaged to be engaged 3 days ago, and it turned out my girlfriend already had a husband. So we're both here against our will. That got her attention. She actually looked at me for the first time, really looked. That's a rough week. You could say that. I'm not going to pretend I'm thrilled about this dinner, she said. But I respect that you're not pretending either. Most men my father's tried to set me up with spend the whole meal performing, telling me how great their job is, how much money they make. You're just sitting there looking like you'd rather be anywhere else. I would rather be anywhere else. She almost smiled. Almost. At least you're honest. A waiter came by. We ordered quickly, without discussion, both of us clearly wanting the meal to move fast. Can I ask you something? I said once he left. Depends what it is. Why are you doing this? The meeting, if you don't want it. She was quiet for a second. My father built his company with with your father 30 years ago. He made a promise back then that our families would stay connected. He's old-fashioned about honor, promises, things like that. I disagreed with him for years. But he's sick now. Not dying, but not well either. This matters to him. So I'm here. That's a heavy reason to sit across from a stranger. What's yours? My grandmother, I admitted. She told me healing doesn't always start with wanting to do something. Sometimes you just do it and let the feeling catch up. Sophia studied me for a moment. That's actually good advice. She's a smart woman. So, she leaned back. Where does that leave us? Honestly, I don't know. I'm not in a place to fall in love with anyone right now. I don't think I even believe in it the way I used to. Good, she said, because I don't need you to fall in love with me. I need a business partner who understands that this is practical, not romantic. My father wants a marriage. I can give him a marriage. What happens inside that marriage is between us. I stared at her, surprised by how much sense that made. You're serious? Completely. No pretending we're something we're not. None. No performing for each other. No fake affection at family dinners beyond what's necessary to keep our parents happy. That, I said slowly, is the most honest conversation I've had with anyone in 5 years. Then we understand each other. She held out her hand, businesslike, across the table. Deal? I looked at her hand for a second, then shook it. Her grip was firm, no hesitation. Deal, I said. Neither of us smiled. Neither of us pretended this was romantic. But something about her bluntness felt more honest than anything Clara had ever told me in 5 years of lies. For the first time since finding that certificate, I felt like I was standing on solid ground. The ceremony was small. Just family, a handful of close friends, and the quiet hum of a string quartet my mother insisted on. Sophia wore white, simple and elegant. No lace, no drama. I wore the same suit I'd bought for a client gala 2 years ago. Neither of us treated it like a fairy tale, and that felt right. You look nervous, Sophia whispered as we waited at the altar. I'm not nervous. I'm just aware of how many people are staring at us. That's what nervous means, Daniel. Fine. I'm nervous. She almost smiled, the same almost smile from our first dinner. Me too. The vows were short, practical even. We'd written them together the week before, agreeing not to say anything we didn't mean. When the officiant pronounced us married, I felt strange. Not sad. Not happy. Just different, like I'd stepped into a new version of my life without fully choosing it, and without fully hating it either. That's when I saw her. Clara stood near the back of the room, uninvited, wearing a dress too formal for someone who wasn't supposed to be there. Ethan spotted her the same second I did and started moving toward her, but I held up a hand. I've got it, I said to Sophia. Give me a minute. Take your time, Sophia said, watching Clara with an unreadable expression. I'll be here. I walked over to Clara, keeping my voice low. What are you doing here? I heard you were getting married. Her voice shook. I didn't believe it. I had to see it myself. Well, now you've seen it. Daniel, this is insane. You barely know her. 3 months ago, you were talking about proposing to me. 3 months ago, I didn't know you had a husband. She flinched. I told you. It's complicated with Marcus. It's not complicated, Clara. You lied to me for 2 years. Sophia and I are honest with each other. That's the difference. So you don't love her. You're just doing this to hurt me. I almost laughed. Not everything is about you. This isn't revenge. This is me building a life that isn't built on lies. Her eyes filled with tears, but something about them felt performative, like she was watching herself cry rather than actually feeling it. I still love you, Daniel. You loved having me as an option, I said quietly. That's not the same thing. She didn't have a response for that. You should go, I said. This isn't your day. She left without another word, and I watched her walk out, feeling nothing but a strange, quiet relief. When I returned to Sophia, she studied my face. Old girlfriend. The one I told you about. She seemed upset. She's upset that I'm not sitting around waiting for her anymore. That's not love. That's losing control over someone she thought she'd always have. Sophia nodded slowly. That sounds exhausting. I'm glad I don't have to compete with that. You don't have to compete with anything, I said. This is real, even if it didn't start out that way. Careful, she said, a small smirk forming. That almost sounded romantic. Don't get used to it. Over the following weeks, Sophia and I settled into a quiet rhythm. She kept her job at her father's firm. I kept building mine. We shared a kitchen, split chores without arguing, and talked over dinner about small things, clients, deadlines, her father's health, my grandmother's stubbornness. It wasn't romance, but it wasn't nothing either. One night, scrolling through my phone, I saw a headline about Marcus Hale's investment firm losing a major client. I didn't think much of it at the time. Everything okay? Sophia asked, noticing my expression. Just an old name showing up somewhere I didn't expect. Clara's husband? Yeah. She studied me carefully. Does it bother you? No, I said and meant it. I think I'm finally starting to feel okay again. Sophia didn't say anything, but she smiled. A real one this time, small and quiet, the kind that felt earned rather than performed. We still hadn't said anything about feelings. Neither of us was ready. But something between us was shifting, quietly, one ordinary evening at a time. The first text from Clara came at 11 at night. I need to talk to you, please. I stared at it for a long time before setting the phone face down on the counter. Sophia glanced up from her laptop. Everything okay? Clara texted me. What did she want? Don't know. Don't care. Sophia went back to typing, but I noticed she watched me for a second longer than necessary. The texts kept coming over the next 2 days. Marcus's firm collapsed. Everything's falling apart. Can we talk? Then, my mother won't even answer my calls anymore. Then, finally, I made a mistake, Daniel. I still love you. I finally called her back, mostly to make it stop. Daniel, thank God. Her voice cracked immediately. Everything's a disaster. Marcus made some bad investment, lost half his portfolio. His creditors are circling. My mother pulled all her support because she says I'm no longer a good investment for the family name. That's rough, Clara. I'm sorry to hear it. Are you? Because it doesn't sound like it. I mean it as sympathy, not an invitation. Daniel, please. I made a mistake. I know that now. Marcus was never real, not the way you and I were real. I still love you. I think about you every day. I closed my eyes, feeling old anger stir, quieter now than before. Clara, you didn't lose me because Marcus's business failed. You lost me the day I found that certificate. Nothing that's happening to you now changes what you did. So that's it? 5 years means nothing. 5 years meant everything to me, until I found out half of it was a lie. I'm not doing this again. You'd really choose some arranged marriage stranger over what we had? Sophia's not a stranger anymore, I said, surprised by how firm my voice sounded. And what we had wasn't real, Clara. That's the part you still don't understand. She started crying, and for the first time, I recognized it wasn't grief over losing me. It was panic over losing her safety net. I hope things get better for you, I said, but I can't help you. Goodbye, Clara. I hung up before she could respond. The next day at the office, I walked in to find Grace hovering near my door, looking nervous. You should probably talk to Sophia. She just left Whitfield's office. What was Sophia doing at Whitfield's office? Grace hesitated. Apparently he's been trying to poach the Kessler account. Sophia found out and went to confront him directly. I found Sophia in the break room, jaw tight, arms crossed. You went to see Whitfield? He's been meeting privately with the Kesslers, trying to convince them your firm is unstable after everything with Clara went public. I wasn't going to let him spread that garbage without pushback. Sophia, you didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. Her eyes were sharp. You built that firm from nothing. I'm not watching some opportunist use your personal life to steal your clients. What did you say to him? I told him if he mentioned your name again to a client, I'd make sure every business owner in this city knew exactly how he operates. He backed off fast. I stared at her, something shifting quietly in my chest. You didn't have to fight my battles. I know I didn't have to. She uncrossed her arms. I wanted to. Why? She paused, like she was choosing her words carefully. Because you're not just some arrangement to me anymore, Daniel. I don't know when that changed. But it changed. I didn't say anything right away. I just looked at her. Really looked. The way she'd looked at me during our first dinner, blunt and unguarded. Thank you, I finally said, for having my back. Don't make it weird, she said, though her voice had softened. Wouldn't dream of it. But walking back to my office, I realized something had shifted in me too. Clara had never once protected me from anything. She'd only ever protected herself. Sophia, who owed me nothing, who'd married me out of obligation, had just gone to war for me without hesitation. That wasn't practical. That wasn't business. That was something else entirely. Grace caught me laughing at my desk, actually laughing at something Sophia had texted me, and she stopped in the doorway like she'd walked in on something rare. What? I asked, still smiling. Nothing. It's just, I haven't heard you laugh like that in months. I laugh. Not like that. She leaned against the doorframe. Since the wedding, you're different. Lighter. I wasn't sure the arranged marriage thing would work out, honestly. But it's good to see. It's not that deep, Grace. Sure it isn't. She smiled and walked off before I could argue further. That night, Sophia and I sat on the balcony after dinner. The city lights spread out below us. It had become a habit, quiet evenings, no pressure to talk, but usually ending up talking anyway. Can I tell you something? Sophia said, staring out at the skyline. Go ahead. When my father first told me about this marriage, I assumed you'd resent me. I thought you'd see me as the thing that got in the way of whatever life you actually wanted. I braced myself for that. For years, maybe. I didn't resent you, I said. Not really. I resented the situation. There's a difference. Is there? You were honest with me from the first dinner. Clara lied to me for 5 years, and I never resented her the way I probably should have. You gave me nothing but the truth, and somehow I worried you'd be the one who ended up hating me. She turned to look at me. Why would I hate you? Because I brought you into a marriage while I was still broken. I wasn't fair to you in the beginning. I was closed off, distracted, still angry about Clara half the time. You deserved someone who showed up completely, not someone working through wreckage. Daniel, I wasn't exactly showing up completely either. I spent the first month treating this like a business contract because it was safer than admitting I was scared too. Scared of what? Of caring about someone who didn't choose me. Not really. You didn't pick me out of a room full of options. Your family arranged this. I kept thinking, what if he only ever sees me as an obligation he has to make the best of? I don't see you like that. Not anymore. I know, she said quietly. I figured that out somewhere between the wedding and Whitfield's office. I almost laughed. You went to war for a business obligation? I went to war for you, she said simply. Somewhere along the way, that's what you became to me. Not an obligation. Just you. We sat there for a while, the silence comfortable instead of heavy. Something had shifted between us, and neither of us needed to name it out loud yet. My phone buzzed. Ethan, have you seen the news? Marcus threw Clara under the bus. Check it out. I opened the link he sent. A lawsuit against Marcus's failing investment firm had gone public, and in his defense, Marcus's lawyers revealed the existence of his marriage to Clara. A marriage he'd kept quiet to protect his image as an available bachelor investor to potential clients. Now, exposing it was his only way to explain away certain financial transfers as family assets instead of fraud. Clara's name was suddenly everywhere. Her friends, her social circle, people who had no idea she was secretly married for 2 years. All of it public. I showed Sophia the screen. She read it, then looked up at me carefully. How do you feel about that? I thought about it honestly before answering. Not glad, not sad either. Just done. That chapter's closed. Good, Sophia said, leaning her head against my shoulder. The first time she'd done that without hesitation. Because I like this chapter a lot better. Yeah, I said, meaning it fully for the first time. Me too. Clara showed up at my office on a Tuesday, No appointment, no warning. Grace buzzed me nervously. She's here. Should I let her in? It's fine, Grace. Send her back. She looked worse than I'd ever seen her. Thinner, tired, dressed like she'd stopped caring about appearances for the first time in her life. She sat down across from my desk without waiting to be invited. My mother won't speak to me, she said. No greeting, no small talk. She says I ruined the family's reputation. My friends stopped returning calls the second the lawsuit story broke. Even my business partners dropped the partnership this week. I heard some of that, I said carefully. I'm sorry it's been that hard. Are you? Her eyes filled, but there was something exhausted behind them now, not performative like before. Everyone I thought cared about me disappeared the second I stopped being useful. That sounds lonely. It is. She wiped her eyes. Daniel, I know I don't deserve this, but I need help. I don't have anywhere else to turn. I'll leave Marcus. I already filed for separation. I just need. Need what, Clara? You, she said quietly. I need you. I made the biggest mistake of my life choosing security over honesty, and I've been paying for it every single day since. You're the only real thing I ever had. I sat back in my chair, letting her words settle without rushing to respond. Behind her, through the glass wall of my office, I saw Sophia walking down the hallway. She slowed when she saw Clara, then stepped just inside the doorway, silent, letting me handle it. Clara, I said finally, I'm not going to pretend the last few months haven't been hard for you. They have. And some of that isn't fair. People can be cruel when someone's down. So you understand. But I don't hate you anymore, I continued. I want you to know that. I'm not sitting here enjoying watching your life fall apart. Relief flickered across her face. Then, I also don't love you, I said. Not anymore. That part's gone, Clara. It didn't survive finding out about Marcus, and it definitely didn't survive watching you show up here now, using desperation the same way you used charm before. That's not fair, isn't it? You're not here because you suddenly value honesty. You're here because everyone else left, and I'm the only door still open. That's not love. That's convenience. The same thing our whole relationship was built on, apparently. Her face crumpled. So that's it? After 5 years, you're just done. I was done the day I found that certificate, I said gently. Everything since then has just been me learning how to actually live with that. You married a stranger out of spite. I married someone honest, I corrected her. Someone who never once made me question what was real. That's not spite. That's the opposite of what you gave me. She sat in silence for a long moment, then finally stood, gathering what was left of her composure. I hope she's worth it. She is, I said without hesitation. Clara glanced toward the doorway and saw Sophia standing there. Something passed between them. Not quite an apology, not quite acknowledgement. Just two women who'd ended up on opposite sides of the same man's life. Clara left without another word. Sophia stepped into the office once she was gone, closing the door quietly behind her. You okay? She asked. Yeah, actually, I think I am. You handled that better than I expected. Better than you expected? I raised an eyebrow. Thanks for the confidence. I mean it as a compliment. She sat on the edge of my desk. A few months ago, I think you would have either yelled at her or let her back in out of guilt. You didn't do either. You just told her the truth and let her leave. Feels different now, I admitted. She used to have this hold on me. Watching her walk out just now, I didn't feel anything but tired. That's growth, Daniel. Maybe. I looked up at her. Or maybe it's just easier to let go of something when you've already found something better. Sophia's expression softened, and for once, she didn't have a sharp comeback ready. I'm proud of you, she said simply. I don't know if I've said that before, but I am. That means more than you'd think, I said. Coming from you. 6 months after that day in my office, Grandmother Rosa insisted we renew our vows. You two got married like it was a business merger, she said, waving a hand at us over Sunday dinner. Now you're clearly in love. Do it again, properly this time. Sophia laughed. Rosa, we're already married. It's the same paperwork either way. It's not about paperwork, Grandmother Rosa said. It's about saying it out loud, in front of people who love you, when you actually mean it. I looked at Sophia. She's not wrong. You want to do this? Yeah, I said. I do. So we planned something small again. Just family, the same backyard where my parents had hosted dinners my whole life, string lights instead of a quartet. Ethan stood beside me. Grace came with her husband, Mr. Lin, looking healthier than he had in months. Walked Sophia halfway down the aisle before handing her off with tears he pretended weren't there. Ready, Sophia whispered when she reached me. More than I've ever been ready for anything. The vows we wrote this time weren't practical. They weren't careful. I told her that the version of me who signed our first marriage certificate had been running from something, and the version of me standing there now was finally running towards something instead. She told me she used to think love had to be chosen from the start to be real, but she'd learned it could grow just as strong when it was given time and honesty to build itself. I didn't choose you first, she said. But I choose you now. Completely. I didn't choose this marriage, I said. But I choose you in every version of my life, every time. Somewhere near the back gate, half hidden behind the fence line, I caught a glimpse of a familiar figure. Clara. I don't know how she found out about the ceremony, or why she came, but she stood there quietly, watching from a distance, not bothering anyone. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel triumph. I just felt a strange, quiet peace, like watching the final page of a book close on its own. After the ceremony, Ethan found me by the drink table. Is that Clara over there? Looks like it. You want me to say something to her? No, I said. Let her be. She's not hurting anyone standing there. You've changed, man. A year ago, you would have been furious. A year ago, I didn't have this, I said, glancing toward Sophia, who was laughing with Grace near the string lights. It's hard to be angry when your life turned out better than you ever planned it. Later, when the guests had mostly left and it was just the two of us cleaning up stray glasses on the patio, Sophia leaned against me. Did you see her? By the fence. I saw her. Does it bother you? No, I said honestly. I used to think I needed revenge to feel okay again. Turns out I didn't need to do anything at all. She built her own downfall. I just had to walk away and let her live in it. That's a very calm way to look at it. It's the truest way. I pulled her closer. Clara had everything, my loyalty, 5 years, every chance to be honest. And she threw it away for something that fell apart on its own. I ended up with a marriage I never asked for that turned into the realest thing I've ever had. Sophia looked up at me. Funny how that works. Funny? I agreed. And exactly what I needed, even when I didn't know it yet. I thought about the ring I'd bought for Clara, still sitting somewhere in a drawer I'd never gone back for. It didn't matter anymore. I had something better now, not something I chose in a moment of blind hope, but something built slowly, honestly, out of the wreckage of everything I thought I wanted. Karma didn't need my help. It just needed time.